Thank you everyone for joining today. Today I'm joined by Mr. Frank Sulkowski, the 2020 Georgia Sportscaster of the Year. Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It's a huge honor. I did not see it coming, and I'm humbled and truly honored for this award.
That's amazing. So I have just a few questions to ask. What made you want to go into sports specifically?
Well, growing up, I came from a sports family. We all played. I'm the oldest of three sons, so we were always playing sports. And then it got to a point, I was either going to be a coach and a teacher, or I was going to go into television. And I started taking some television classes my freshman year of college, and I really liked it, even in college, we were having fun. This is before all the social media and everything else. But me and buddies, we'd have our camcorders and we would do different skits and everything else growing up. So it was one of those things where, I was interested in the television. Again, I wanted to stay somewhere around sports once my playing days were done. And again, it was either going to be a coach or it was going to be on television. And I figured, why waste all of this in the classroom when I can put it on television?
Absolutely. Where did you get your start in sportscasting?
Actually, my first job, and I kind of took a roundabout way. When I was at Georgia Southern, I was doing some volunteering at a local cable news. So, I was taking my classes, but then I wanted to start shooting and getting as involved as I could. So I started off as a volunteer, shooting high school softball and soccer and football. And then, after graduation, I ended up going to Atlanta and working at Georgia Public Broadcasting, a show called Prep Sports Plus there, where we did a showcase of high school student athletes all around the state of Georgia. So that was my first job, and it was one of those things where you were paid per story. So you really couldn't make a living off of that. So I tell people my first year out of college, I lived in a friend's basement for free, just outside of Atlanta. I did the Prep Sports Plus reporting. Then I got a job as a morning radio show host at a small little AM station outside of Atlanta. And then I still wanted and needed to make more money. So on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday, I would manage a small movie theater. So my first year out of college, it was 7 days a week, just grinding, getting that reel ready, trying to make as many connections as humanly possible. And that's what I did, and then my next job from there to get in to a more full-time job where I wasn't working three different jobs. I took a job as a news reporter. So I was a one-man band, technically. And what was crazy about it was I went back to the cable news station where I volunteered for. And I guess I had done such a decent job there that I got a job as a news reporter. And that kind of opened things up for sports.
That's awesome. What was your favorite job so far? That not maybe favorite job, but like, is there a particular game that you loved calling specifically?
There's been so many memories, and that's always such a hard question because the beautiful thing is every day is something new, and every day is a new memory. I think my biggest memories are just watching, the kids, the student athletes. It's where our passion is. It's one of those things where I learned early on that, spotlight those kids, give their parents something to remember them by, and we have a chance to kind of share their story and watch them grow up. So, watching a guy like, Buster Posey, who I covered in high school down at Lee County High School, covered him for 4 years, to watch him go and be a World Series champ and to be an all-star has been truly amazing. This year, watching a guy like Jamin Davis, who went came out of nowhere as kind of an unknown out of Long County High School to be in the first round draft pick of the Washington Football Club. I mean, stuff like that is amazing because you watch those guys as they're growing up. Now we start looking at some other ones. A guy like Davion Mitchell, who helped win a national championship out at Baylor for men's basketball. Now he's going to be a first-round draft pick. This is a guy who I've covered since he was in middle school. Those are the cool things. And more so, what's really cool isn't necessarily just watching guys get to the pro level. What's really cool is when you're out to dinner with your family and somebody comes up, hey, you were at my scholarship signing, or hey, do you remember being at that state championship game I played in? And they're there at dinner with their family and they're now giving back and part of the community. That's the most rewarding thing. So, to put a finger on most specifics, not necessarily, but the most rewarding thing to me is just seeing those folks who we've covered from when they were in middle school, high school, college, to coming back here and started their own families and working in they're starting their own business or working for their parents' companies. Or that's the most rewarding thing. It's just watching, the folks grow up and watching their progression over the years.
Absolutely. When you touched on, seeing the growth of people that is a very, very interesting insight. I never really thought of it like that. Sometimes people think, oh, you probably you either called a really good game, but sometimes it's just, when you said you've been working with some student athletes when they were like in high school and you see them becoming into the big leagues, that definitely is very rewarding.
I mean, when you have guys who have gone on and are playing in college football national championship games or playing in the Super Bowl, and they come back to you, you're like, and they say, you were the first person who did an interview with me. That is something to take a lot of pride in. And that means you were doing your job because you were telling their stories, and to see them reach the pinnacle of sport, and their passion, their love, they're making their dreams come true. What they don't understand is they're making my dreams come true. I get to work around, so many amazing athletes, parents, coaches, and just sports fans. I'm living my dream every day, getting paid to talk about sports and cover sports. It's every day is a blessing.
That's amazing. I really like that outlook on life. That's amazing. If you had any advice for college graduates coming out of college wanting to get into sportscasting, what advice would you give them and why?
The biggest piece of advice that I give, whether it's interns or if I'm at a career day, is there's a couple things. Be yourself. Don't try to mimic, someone you've seen on television. Don't try to be someone you're not. Be yourself. That's what's worked, for your 21 years of life, 22 years, and now that you're graduating. You don't need to put on an announcer's voice or dress a certain way or try to fit, some kind of model. Be yourself, and you're going, as long as you're presenting yourself out there, people are going to like you. It's don't try to be fake. Try to be yourself, and good things are going to happen. Also, be transparent. If you're on air, it's always going to happen. There are going to be things that may not go right. If you mess up, keep on going, but don't act like it didn't happen. Have fun with it. That's one of those things where I've been doing live shots at a hockey game and a puck hits the camera and knocks the camera over. Well, we're live. I'm pulling that camera up and I'm explaining what just happened. Don't try to pretend that it didn't happen. And one other piece of advice is, and as we've seen with social media, when I started in television, there was no social media, so you didn't have to worry as much. As a person in the media, remember before you put your words out there that there can be repercussions for some of the things that you put out there. So be very wary of that. Be very leery of what you're saying. Because people are always watching, whether it's on television now or if it's on social media, people are always watching. But the biggest piece of advice is be you. And, as I was talking with some young athletes earlier today, be the bell cow. And when I say that, be that cow who has the bell on that all the others follow. Be the one that, when the farmer's looking for those cows out in the pasture, you can just listen and you can see that one wearing the bell. And guess what? All the others are usually going to be around. So no matter what you do, be the bell cow. Be a leader. Don't be a follower. Be yourself, and everything's going to be fine.
That's awesome. That's a really good piece of advice. like when you said with the camera piece, you just go with it. And, sometimes, you see announcers and they're like, did I just say that? And they just like kind of laugh and then they move on and continue with the game. So it seems like if you don't get stuck with, oh, I just made a mistake and you dwell on it, you got to just move on. You can just, sometimes you get to make a joke out of it, make a joke, and then just continue calling the game. And I think that's a lot of interesting advice, because I feel like some people would think that, well, I just made a mistake and I feel bad. And it's like, well, you're live still, like you said, you got to keep going. And I think that's a really good piece of advice that I think a lot of people need to hear that want to go into sportscasting.
Yeah, don't worry about perfection every day, because as we've seen, being perfect in anything you do is hard. So just let it rip, be yourself, have fun with it, and always remember that you're getting paid, or you are in a career field where you get to cover sports and be around sports every day of your life. Have fun with it. I mean, let's remember, and again, so much is based on the winning and losing in our profession. But the one thing to remember is sports are games that people play for an enjoyment and to have fun. Do that when you're reporting those same things. Nothing should change.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today. I really enjoyed this interview.
Oh, no problem. Again, I appreciate you. And again, I just want to say thank you again for this huge honor. Been doing television for a long time. I did not see this coming, but again, I am completely humbled. And to be able to watch some of the videos from the other folks from around the country, that's where another piece of advice, for those students and those folks coming out of college, listen to the folks who have been there before and done it. And always remember that things may get a little crazy and the assignments may seem so outlandish, but for the most part, and one thing I live by, I'm never going to make you do something that I haven't done myself. I'm still standing, we're still here, so will you be.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Mr. Sulkowski, for the interview, and thank you everyone for listening, and have a wonderful rest of your day.